We're recording, man.
Okay, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the One Shot Movement podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of entrepreneurs, business people, anyone out there making it happen. Today, we have a phenomenal guest. He's a repeat guest on this podcast. We did an interview about 18 months ago. You can check that out. Season 16, episode 1 with Tony Swantek, who is a phenomenal entrepreneur who's built multiple businesses, a number of those businesses reaching over $1 billion in revenue as well. But he's a tech entrepreneur. He's really heavily involved now in the blockchain space. So what we want to talk about in today's episode is the evolution of a specific blockchain project that we're involved with, provide a bit more context of where this whole world is at the moment, because things in the mainstream are becoming more tokenized in the banking system and all sorts of different areas. So in the space of 18 months, this has been like a bit of a time warp, and we're in this really transition phase of moving from old to new. So I want to provide this episode to be a lot more educational, teach you a little bit more about blockchain, why blockchain, where it's heading, showcase even blockchain projects that we're invested in as well, and some of our real world utility products that we've just recently launched as well. So welcome to the episode, Tony.
Good to be here, Craig. Always good to chat with you, man. Good to connect.
Look, I always like to invite each guest to share their story. Now, you've got a very big and highly successful and long story of entrepreneurship from a long time ago, but I want to encourage people to go back to episode 1 for the full 20-minute version of that. But in the space of a couple of minutes, do you want to just provide some context of your background and where you've come from?
Yeah, sure. I kind of started the world in the network marketing space out of college, and then got into traditional entrepreneurship. Have started well over 50 companies. As you kind of mentioned, we've had 5 companies, or I guess 3 companies in the last 5 years that have generated over $1 billion in annual revenue. A big accounting firm in the United States called Jorns and Associates. We did over 10 billion in tax credit filings with a couple billion in profit. And so, definitely I've done well on the entrepreneurial side. And then really 2023, I started getting highly involved in the blockchain space towards the end of that year, October through December. And then by January of 24, I was kind of full force working in the blockchain field. I kind of delineate. I'd been in cryptocurrency for a while. Our company started buying Bitcoin back in like 2013. So I was early in crypto, but I didn't really delineate between crypto and blockchain until I got involved in blockchain and realized, all right, there's a lot more to blockchain tech than just, Bitcoin. And so as I kind of went down that rabbit hole, I realized this is a game-changing technology. Even guys like Warren Buffett, who you don't think of as a tech entrepreneur, because he's definitely not, he has said blockchain technology is completely transformative. And a lot of the top entrepreneurs in the world, guys like Elon Musk and Buffett is one, and certainly many more, believe that blockchain will change the way businesses operate, governments govern, and just really, kind of enhance the efficiencies around the globe.
And look, just on that too, I think, it would be fair to say that this point in time would be quite similar to probably the 90s when we're moving into the website era, and then the early 2000s when people were starting to get social media and utilize social media. I sort of feel that this technology is here to stay and is only going to develop and evolve as those two industries developed. And you can see banking stories from MasterCard nearly coming out every other day now that they're moving this onto this platform. Do you want to just, because it's not a matter of it'll be here today, gone tomorrow, where some and fads do. This is actually another one of those big game-changing technologies.
Well, I think if you look back at even the internet, we look back at a technology that was developed throughout the 70s, launched 1983 is really IP TCP, like the internet protocol came to fruition. But I certainly wasn't using it. I think, the Navy, I had some buddies maybe that were a little older than I was that were sending emails back in the 80s. I'm sure IBM, was using email, and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, but the vast majority of society, I started using email in the 90s. And so it was a couple decades really, before you started to see, 2007 is really the iPhone, the smartphone, where finally, all of a sudden the internet was at our palm of our hands. And so, certainly the internet got better and better over those years, but it wasn't until really you saw the smartphone come out that just the globe started adopting that technology at the highest levels. And so, blockchain is still a young technology. I think, 2009 is really the Bitcoin blockchain kind of genesis. And then it's been growing. And I think for a lot of years, you had a very, I don't know if I even use the word hostile regulatory environment, especially in the United States, which is, typically going to be, I think, a deterrent in that space. If you're a business, if you're an entrepreneur and you're wanting to get involved in blockchain, and the United States of America's government is hostile towards that, there's a lot of other Western governments that will follow suit. Certainly a lot of the Eastern governments were following suit as well, and were pretty hostile to the technology. So it didn't make a lot of sense from a capital standpoint. If I was going to deploy capital as institutional money or as private equity or even a small to mid-sized entrepreneur, do you want to deploy capital in an arena that there's so much uncertainty? And certainly, there are entrepreneurs that did, but I think over the last certainly 24 months, you've started to receive clarity from the regulatory landscape, and companies like BlackRock and Fidelity and Chase and just some of the biggest companies on the planet have started to get involved in that technology. And there's countries like El Salvador where Bitcoin is their national currency. And, so all of a sudden, I think I'm, in full agreement with you. This is here to stay. And as you start to understand the technology and dig in, you start, for me as an entrepreneur, figuring out ways to position yourself to benefit from the growth in a new technology.
And I would say too, just to say that, like, I bought my first Bitcoin, I think in 2017, and watched, there's still lack of education's probably, or understanding of what is blockchain technology versus what is crypto. People just associate, that's just Bitcoin or something like that. But through that, wild west and lack of regulation, there's been a lot of cryptos come and go and bust. And I want to sort of like segue into what is real world utility versus cryptos that is built on memery and Trump coin. And, there's, a lot of people just think, I've just got to throw a dart at a wall and I'm going to be in the next big project type of thing. But there's really an important to understand. We are moving and making this as a mainstream type of realm in terms of blockchain projects, but it's important to understand, does this project have real world utility? Do you want to explain sort of, investing in a meme that's just really hot air and an image and just a heap of people on Reddit talking about it versus substance in the blockchain space?
Absolutely. I think you can even go further than meme coins. And again, you can look at almost all cryptocurrency on the planet as subjective valuation. And I don't have a problem with subjective valuation. Like I said, our company started buying Bitcoin in 2013. And we've never sold. We kept buying and kept buying and kept buying. Our last big purchase was at like 92,000 or 97,000. I think I'd have to check our Block Explorer, but yeah, I mean, near 100,000, I can say that. And so we feel like blockchain is in its infancy. Something like Bitcoin, my opinion, which it is what it is, I believe Bitcoin should be $2 million a coin. And again, that's my opinion, but Michael Saylor from MicroStrategies thinks 21 million a coin. I think Elon Musk is somewhere between the two of us where he thinks it'll end up. And you've got, I mentioned Warren Buffett earlier, who talks about, blockchain is transformative, but he's also on record as saying Bitcoin is worthless. It should be at zero a coin. And at the end of the day, none of us really know. We'll decide who's right or wrong by the market over the next several years. The market's going to determine which one of us is right, which one of us is wrong. But at the end of the day, it's just our opinion. And And again, I have nothing right or wrong about subjective value, but it is subjective. And if you look at a company like Apple, it's not my opinion that Apple is a valuable company. Last year, their gross profit was just under $200 billion for the year. The world knows Apple is valuable because the world can do math. We look at the revenue, look at the expenses, and when the gross profit is hovering in the $200 billion range, you're valuable. Like everyone knows it. And so the question becomes, how will the marketplace react if you start for the first time ever at scale to bring objective value onto the blockchain? That's where I think this community that really they started this community in 2014 building layer one blockchains. I came across them in 2017, 2018, fully decentralized, fair launch, no ICO, no investors. Think of the typical meme coin or even the typical token, the launch on an Ethereum network. Solana is kind of synonymous with launching meme coins, but even Ethereum launching tokens in that ICO craze, so many times it was just the idea and it was the hype. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to build, buy our coin, buy our token. And then it never came to fruition. And I'd say probably 90+% of them, unfortunately, never even planned on coming to fruition. That was probably the saddest piece. And it was a rug pull. It was a pump and dump. And we started to look at real world utility, putting real companies, real products, real services, the R-Link platform. It's a blockchain-based video conferencing platform. The Operly platform, which is a blockchain-based AI aggregate where you can use all the big LLMs. You can use agents, fully agentic technology like an OpenClaw, all under one roof, all under one umbrella, way better pricing than piecing together all these different AI tools. And 100% of the revenue from these services goes in to buy the token out of the market. So all of a sudden you start building objective value, which has never at scale been done. And you start going, our coin's not valuable because I think it should be. It's valuable because we have 1 million clients paying $50 a month for a service. And at that point, if you got 50 million a month going in to buy your token, that's just simple economics. That's demand versus supply. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to have a very valuable token if that kind of revenue is rushing in behind it to create buy-side pressure. And so that's really what we do as a community is can we drive revenue? It has nothing to do with building up a token price. We've never had an ICO. We've never had an investor in our community. And the goal is nothing to do with the token necessarily. It's can we build another multi-billion-dollar company where 100% of that revenue drives through a token? The token will take care of itself. And that's the goal here.
Yeah, and just on that, if you can explain why build, you would probably say blockchain is a Web3 style technology. What's the difference between building a company on a blockchain versus, setting up a website and launching a website and building it on the internet, which is probably what most people in society are familiar with? And feel free to use any metaphors that can really bring it back into the layman's language. Do you want to sort of explain that?
Yeah, I think initially what we're going to end up seeing is I let my dog in, so they're all over the place. But I think initially what we'll end up seeing is a hybrid, right? I think there was so many projects in blockchain that maybe went a little far as this completely, fully anonymous, decentralized world. Banks are evil, credit cards are evil, debit cards are evil. And listen, they might be right. They're probably not that far off on some of the traditional banking world and the way it works. And in the US, you can look at fractional reserve banking. But my thought is if you're bringing new technology to the marketplace, and you're completely bucking societal norms, there's going to be a hard brick wall to run through to gain adoption. And right now you've got less than 7% of the world, give or take, is involved in blockchain or cryptocurrency, which, seems like a lot, but really anytime you're below 20% adoption, you don't scale up globally and hit those kind of massive numbers that you see with the internet, where you've got 6 billion people online. 70+% of the world is online now. And so I think what we've started to perfect within our ecosystem is one, how do you make the blockchain technology invisible? See, if you're an entrepreneur and you're wanting to build a regular Web 2 business, that's easy. My mom's going to use her credit card and buy your product or buy your service. The question for us really became, can we allow my mom to use her credit card and pay for a platform like this or a platform like Operly? And she's benefiting from blockchain technology without even realizing she's benefiting from blockchain technology. And I think what blockchain does at its core is it allows for the transfer of value without the need of a third party to be involved. And so people think of value. That's why cryptocurrency, I think, grew quickly, as people understood value in the aspect of cryptocurrency. Okay, I can send you a bank wire if I working on a business project and I owe you $1 million to be a part of the project with you. I can't send you a wire now. It's dark here. Like, the banks are closed, and my bank in Kansas, I'm in Puerto Rico most of the year, so that's where I'm at now. But in Kansas, where my other house is, the banks are closed there. In Oklahoma, where our lake house is, the banks are closed there. So I am not wiring you any money anytime soon. And tomorrow I'm busy. If I had to physically go into one of the banks to do it, it would be difficult. It would be very difficult because I'm busy. My schedule is packed. So it may be Monday or Tuesday before I can get to the bank. And that's just life. And it's an international wire. If you're in Australia, maybe late next week, the week after, before the funds are actually available for you. And that's life. That's normal. That's just how it works. Well, if you said, you know what, Tony, just send me Bitcoin. Well, I could send you $1 million worth of Bitcoin. We could do that in 3-4 minutes. The transaction would be fully complete and done. And it would just be me and you. Like, we don't need Wells Fargo or Bank of America or one of the Aussie banks involved. It's literally a peer-to-peer transactional network. And so the transfer of value, I think people understand monetary value. But I think one of the biggest plays that's happening in a Web3 environment for entrepreneurs is owning data, owning your data. The average American, their data is worth about $6,563 per year. Aussies, Europeans, probably 15 to 1,700, and third world, like emerging markets, if they're online, which 6 billion people are, a lot are in emerging markets, their data is worth about $300 a year. And right now, collectively, we all earn $0 off of that data, pretty much. Like, all our private data is controlled by huge corporations. And so as a Web 2 entrepreneur, if I have the opportunity to transition to a Web 3 environment, I think the reason I would do that, and that I did do that, is the advantage is massive in the marketplace. I always look in business, you kind of talk about the moat. What's your moat? Meaning, like, what's the protection you have around your product? Is it patented? Is the technology, licensed and proprietary? No one else has it in the world, and no one could be able to build it. And I think as AI continues to expand, software itself, the technology itself, it's going to be very easy to reverse engineer over time. And so what you've got to look at is infrastructure. You got to look at foundation, community, usability, and I think most importantly, ownership. And that's where blockchain gives, for me, the biggest moat around any of the projects that our community is working on. It's not the tech, it's who owns the tech. Because it's almost like a battle between centralized and decentralized. And if I'm starting a new business and I can do Web 2 or I can do Web 3, the reason I choose Web 3 is this battle right now, for the first time really in history, certain subsects of society are realizing the battle is going on. I think for most of our lives, especially the last 10 years, society has conceded to the fact that Mark Zuckerberg has been listening to me this whole time. And Jeff Bezos and Google and ChatGPT, Bill Gates and Sam Altman. And that's just life. I'm going to talk about the Ritz-Carlton yacht line, the cruise line. And tomorrow on my Facebook, I'm going to see an advertisement for the Ritz-Carlton cruise line. And we used to go, I remember initially you'd hear stories about that. And you'd be like, they're spying on us. And it's like, no way. And then you'd see it happen to you. And it was like, oh my God, you kind of feel violated. Now it's like, whatever. It's just like, we know that's just how it is. That's how life is. And those corporations are going to make trillions of dollars this year off of all of our data around the world. And what we're doing as a community is giving people, I think the biggest problem for the 6 billion people that are online is they don't even know they have a choice between the centralized control and the decentralized control. And so our goal is to educate consumers and go, listen, here's an option for you. It doesn't have to be that way, where all of your money from all of your personal data goes to these huge corporations. What if you could make $3,000 a year, $1,000 a year, $100 a year? It's $100 more than you're making now off of your data. So what if you had that option? All else is equal, but now you're getting paid to have targeted advertising. And maybe I like targeted advertising. I like to see things I'm interested in. I'd rather see pickleball paddles and tennis shoes than, dresses and high heels. But if I could get paid to get that targeted ads, that's even better. And so I tell people, you have a choice between that decentralized control and that centralized, and you have to choose. That's probably the worst thing for everybody is like, if you don't choose, Mark Zuckerberg will happily choose for you, and he's going to choose centralized control. And Google has already chosen for you, and Amazon and ChatGPT, Bill Gates is choosing for you. And so if we can educate society and go, listen, what blockchain does at its core is it allows the transfer of value real time. It allows secure ownership of that value real time. So I can use Operly, and none of my data goes to ChatGPT. My question may go there to OpenAI and ask the question, but it doesn't come from my account. It goes through a firewall into our Operly enterprise level account. And so GPT doesn't know I exist anymore, doesn't know I ever ask it any questions, which I think is important. And that way, the data that I have, GPT doesn't know who I am or what I am or where I am. So the data that I'm asking for is worth nothing to them. But to me, if someone's wanting to sell me car insurance and my data shows that I could be a really good buyer, and I put my data out there in the open market for car insurance quotes, all of a sudden, maybe I make $50 in 2 weeks getting quotes on car insurance because my AI is saying, hey, I've been doing note taking on your meetings. I've been helping you answer your emails. I've been checking your calendar, and it looks like you may be ready for some new car insurance. It looks like Progressive just raised their rates on your Geico or whoever, I guess, depending on what country. I'm in. Puerto Rico is one company and the United States is another company that insures my cars. But it's like, if it's seeing emails and maybe the premium is going up and it says, hey, you want me to get you some quotes? You can make about $40-50 over the next week or two, just having car insurance companies quote you. I'll create a new email address so you don't have to worry about spam. I'll share with them the make and model of your car, how many miles you drive a year, your education, your job, your earnings, not your name, not your phone number. Just I'll create all of this and I'll start getting quotes, and I'll make sure we only accept quotes where they pay us for that data. So I think that the society's getting ready to move into a new era. We're early, certainly. I think, we were probably too early when we started this a couple of years ago, but you never know when the exact timing is going to hit. But more and more now, the regulatory environment has come around our way. Many big institutional firms like BlackRock and Fidelity, as I mentioned earlier, are coming into the technology space, the blockchain technology in particular. AI is pushing blockchain technology forward faster than in history so far. And so I think as a Web3 entrepreneur, eventually that's the only kind of entrepreneurs we'll have. I always used to say Google's an internet company. Oh, Yahoo, that's an internet company. PayPal, that's an internet company. Nobody says that anymore. My accounting firm is an internet company. Like, you can't mail me your payroll tax report. You have to load it into an online repository. We don't even send agreements out for wet signature. It's all done through e-signature with our accounting firm. And so an accounting firm is an online company. So it's redundant. You don't even say it. All big companies are online, are web companies. I think in the very near future, today people ask me what I'm working on. I say, I got a couple of blockchain projects. I think within the next couple of years, that'll be redundant. No one will say they're working on a blockchain project. Their project will obviously be on the blockchain, or it wouldn't be a project probably worth sharing or talking about to too many people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a blockchain technology infrastructure, Rally blockchain. Then we have projects, which are real world utility. We're on here at the moment using the webinar conferencing software, which we would probably refer to as a conversion tool with some of the whiz-bang features. We recently just launched Operly, and that one there's really been a bit of a game changer from what I've seen. Certainly opens up the conversations because there's so many businesses out there that know that they need to start implementing AI into their business. So they just go and open up a free ChatGPT account, and now they're saying, well, at least I'm using AI now, but ChatGPT might be good for that, but then Gemini might be good for this, and then Perplexity might be for this. So I believe we solve a massive problem in the marketplace with our Operly tool, because we have an interface that houses pretty much all 115 of the most popular ones out there. Would you provide a bit more context to the Operly product for the marketplace, why you think it's a bit of a game changer? And if you want to share, our Rally blockchain's got multiple products in the tech space that are coming as well.
Yeah, I think for me, I was probably the typical entrepreneur using AI, which, I probably main use was, number one, I kind of used it like a search engine, and just, instead of going to Google, I'd start going to ChatGPT and asking for answers to questions I had, and was getting really good feedback. Then I would use it here and there to just kind of create a little bit more efficiency within operations. I need a contract written, instead of going to my chief legal officer or general counsel at one of our companies and having them draft something from scratch. I would kind of give some bullet points to AI and say, hey, draft up a quick NDA, a mutual NDA regarding the AI technology for our research and development tax credit program at Jorns and Associates, my accounting firm. And it would draft up a basic mutual non-disclosure agreement. And then I could send that over to my attorneys and save them time because they've got at least the bullet points, and now it's already drafted everything. And then they'll know a few things from our company that, hey, we need to add this in, we need to add this in, and then we can push that out. So that was it. And I've learned now, honestly, if that's how you're using AI, which the vast majority, I think, of society that uses AI, that's how we use it. That would be like using the internet and only sending emails. Like, there's nothing else you do with the internet. You don't watch shows on Netflix. You don't do any streaming. You don't check your bank statement, pay your credit card bill. You don't shop. You don't go to Amazon. You don't buy anything. Don't book trips, don't book flights. You call in and book your, like, if all you use the internet for was to send emails, like, you're missing the boat. Like, you are not, you're using like 1% of the use case of the internet, or probably less than 1%. And I think that's kind of how I look at AI. If you're using AI as a search engine, you're using 1%, 2% of the actual efficiencies that AI can create within your business and within your life. And so, I started using Operly. I mean, I use it for my phone mostly, but I have it on my laptop as well. But I can come in, go to my homepage. It'll give me a quick breakdown. Let me know, hey, here's how many unread emails you have. Here's an email you need to get your eyes on. Here's projects that we're working on right now that are fully automated for you. Here's your schedule for today. It's got our meeting here, and so what's cool, like every morning I have one of the agents in here that goes in, reads my schedule, finds out if I put a first name and last name in there, it'll build a dossier. And so every meeting I go into, I know who I'm meeting with, what their background is, what their skill sets are, where we have synergies, what some talking points might be. And then my AI knows what my main goals are, which the main focus right now is 1 million paid users on the Operly account. And so on my dossier at the bottom piece, it will say, this is how this individual you're meeting with can help you achieve that goal of 1 million users before the end of the year. And so it's basically framing up everything based on my goals and aspirations. Every meeting I go into, every email that comes into my inbox, it knows to flag emails that have something to do with that mission that I'm on. It also knows to flag emails that are from my tax attorney, flag them from my banker, like certain emails that it knows are important. It gets my eyeballs on them. It also knows marketing emails, spam time. It just archives certain emails from certain people because it's watched me archive them over and over without even needing to read them, and it learns. And so it's almost like just having, unlimited employees that you can spin up that never take a break, never ask for a raise. They work 24/7, 365, and it's creating efficiencies in my business that I honestly never thought would be at that point prior to getting involved with this project. Because GPT, while it does some stuff for me, there's a lot of stuff it just can't do because it's not the best LLM for everything. It's great for what it's great for, but there's things that it's absolutely terrible at. And take a PDF, a bank statement PDF, and tell ChatGPT you want to convert it into an Excel spreadsheet database file, and watch how many errors are in that file. Like, putting it into Excel is one thing. Putting it in there with the right information is the actual important piece. And so if you put it in Excel and it's got numbers in the wrong places, it does you no good. And so that's Claude. You should use Claude for that. But if you don't know that, you'll be using the wrong tool. It's like using a hammer to try and put a screw in to a chair or whatever. It's like you can do it, but you're going to strip the threads of the screw, and that screw is going to fall back out and the chair is going to fall apart. So you have to have the right tools for the right job. I think that's the beauty of Operly, is it's got them all in one place. It's got the full toolbox. And then what's even better is, I had somebody, a little older baby boomer, been around a while and entrepreneur, but certainly not a tech entrepreneur, and didn't like to deal with high tech at all. And they were interested in AI. They were interested in Operly. I showed them a demo of it, and the guy's like, I wouldn't even know where to start, but I want to buy it and give it a try, but where do I start? And I said, well, let's get you set up. So we bought it. And I said, ask it where to start. And it just said, hey, do you have email? He goes, yeah, I got email. How many emails? Yeah, I got 3 accounts. Do you want to attach them? Yeah, I want to attach them. Here's how we do it. And it literally held his hand, connected his emails. And it was like, do you have a calendar? Yeah, I got one on my iPhone. I got 3 email calendars, each for different businesses that I have. So 4 different calendars. Hey, would you like me to consolidate all your calendars? All right, well, we already did it. When you added the emails, I grabbed those calendars, but your iPhone calendar, let me grab that one. And so all of a sudden, he's utilizing efficiencies created by AI. And he never thought he'd have that opportunity because I think, he never thought he'd have the tech ability to do it. And the beauty of AI at the level of something like Operly is it can teach you how to use it at the highest levels.
Yeah. And if you do want to learn exactly how to use the tool, I've actually created a 15-minute demo going through every single feature. So feel free to reach out to me to get access to that. I'll walk through feature 1 right through the whole platform. Awesome. But some of the other things that I really love about, you can build your agent specifically for what you have You can deploy multiple agents together to work on a project. It's a project management system. There's a full creator studio. So you can create images, blogs, slide decks. Like, it really is the ultimate business tool. I actually, even though I'm an owner, I guess, of the blockchain and really heavily invested in this project, I still say to everyone, in 25 years in business, it's easily the best number one tool I've used to make me more efficient, more profitable, and just be a time saver as well. So
Sure.
I'm a huge advocate. You mentioned the word. My goal, my mission knows this, is I want to get 1 million users into Operly. Now, at a $50 a month up to $200 a month subscription, but most people will probably be very, very comfortable at 50. You do the math on that, that's $50 million a month in revenue. This is what we talk about in terms of real world utility and driving the value of the blockchain and the token associated with that. So I wanted to just touch, and this is where people get a little bit lost, a little bit confused on what are levels of participation, what is ownership, how does the ownership levels work? Like, for us, we own software licenses that build the blockchain effectively. But you can buy the token on the open market. You can also just be a user of the real world utility as well. Do you want to give your perspective and spin on how all that works?
Yeah, I feel like there's 3 ways to be involved with the project. And one as a user, somebody that uses the service, and you maybe you're doing Zooms or Google Meets or Microsoft Teams, and you want to own your data instead of letting those corporations own your data. And I think R-Link's a great solution if you're an entrepreneur and you want to do a white label and have your own fully branded platform, that instead of saying R-Link at the top left there and the R-Link domain, it could be, which we did this with our accounting firm, it could be your own domain, your own logos. Like, everything is fully branded for you. The color scheme is fully branded for you. And so you have the ability to keep your clients inside your brand. And so I think that's, a great use case for all entrepreneurs. For Operly, being able to, white label that as well, have that in your own brand, and being able to bring, users on and create that revenue that drives through the blockchain. I think that's where we, can kind of separate ourselves from any traditional project in certainly a Web 2 environment and as well in a Web 3 environment. And so, we're looking to do that again. That's kind of what I say my mission is. And we've got some pretty big players that are already in play right now that are starting to make some moves. Our white label wait list is pretty strong. We've got some of the biggest insurance companies in the world. We've got, some of the bigger real estate companies in the world, because it's kind of a no-brainer, I guess. Why wouldn't you want your own branded platform if you could do it on blockchain and own all your data and control everything? And so, for me, I think, we're at that point where we're really starting to move into customer acquisition. And I know when we first talked, 18 months ago, we're still kind of building the infrastructure, very controlled with our growth. Now it's like, let's go out to the world and let them know what we're doing. And if you're a user, that's great. That's one way to be involved. The second way is you can own the underlying technology. If you use it and you like it, why wouldn't you want to own the underlying tech? And I kind of liken that to, if you're opening a restaurant and you're going to go public, you've got a bunch of locations, you're ready to go into the public markets and do an IPO, and you want me to be a pre-IPO investor, let me eat at your restaurant. Like, that's the best thing you can do. If I have a great meal, I'm probably going to throw down and go, man, this was amazing. The service was amazing. I want to be a part of what you're doing on the cap table. I want to own a piece of this. And we're no different. You can basically use the services. If you go, this is better, man. This is better than GPT. This is better than Zoom. This is better than Gemini. Great. You can own the underlying technology, and you can do that through the Node software. And if you're helping us operate the blockchain, which that's all Node software is, it's literally software you can buy, put on your computer, or you can use a third party host in the cloud, and you're allowing our community, our blockchain community, to borrow your computer power. Almost like if you drive Uber, you're letting someone borrow your car and they're paying you for it. If you have an Airbnb, you're letting someone, stay at your house or whatever, and they're paying you for it. If you are on the blockchain and you're running a node, you're letting someone borrow your computer power. In Bitcoin, they call it a Bitcoin mining node. That's what a Bitcoin miner does. It allows the Bitcoin blockchain to use their computer power to help run that blockchain. We're no different. We have software for the Rally blockchain. It's called the Rally node. There are 3 different levels of nodes that allow you to participate in the community. You could get a droid, which is like $250 US, and that kind of gets you locked into the system where you can actually start earning rewards for helping to build the community. And the reason we have to have that software is there is no company to like mail you a check. It's fully decentralized. And so like if you're mining Bitcoin and you unplug your mining machine, like your computer, you unplug that Bitcoin miner from the wall, Bitcoin cannot reward you any longer. Like that's how you get the rewards, is there's a wallet attached to that mining software, or that's hardware in Bitcoin. And if you unplug the Bitcoin miner, Bitcoin can't pay you anymore. You plug it back in, now Bitcoin can pay you. So our droid, that $250, I call it kind of a mini node, it'll allow the community to reward you and hit your wallet with utility tokens for helping us grow. The second level, you've got what's called a block bot for $2,500 US, and that rewards you even more tokens. It gives you a little bit more tokens. And then the third level is what we call a full smart node. They're in the neighborhood of $15,000 US. So it's not something that's inexpensive at all. It's fairly expensive, but that generates the most tokens on a daily basis. And it also includes the block bot, includes the droid. So it includes the smaller software nodes. And so it's kind of an all-encompassing one. So, you can use the services, you can own the underlying technology. And then the third way to be involved really is you can help build the community. You can help grow the community. And so if you're sitting there going, man, not only do I use Zoom, but my company does, and I know a friend's company who does, and maybe they would want to have their own brand on their platform. Man, I know I'm using AI, and I'm using it like Tony talked about, like it's a search engine for me. It's a little chat bot. Maybe, throw a couple contracts together in there, but I certainly don't have it helping me clean out my email inbox. I don't have it answering messages. I don't have it spinning up funnels and marketing campaigns and lead generation and bringing me clients. Like I don't have ChatGPT doing anything other than telling me what's the best restaurant in this town I'm getting ready to travel to, So at the end of the day, I think once people start using it, they're going to want to own the underlying tech. And once they're using it and own the underlying technology, they're going to want to share the technology with others because of how much it's helped them. Anyone that they love and care about, they're going to want to be like, hey, let me show it how you can help you. And then on top of that, the algorithm is going to reward you. It's going to pay you basically tokens for helping our community grow, for helping to bring revenue. So I'm actually involved in all 3 of those ways. I use the products and services. I own the node network, a chunk of nodes in the underlying technology, and I've built a pretty big community. And so I always say, hey, you can do none of it. You can do 1, 2, or you can do all 3 and be a big part of the community.
And if you are listening to this and you just want to use the technology first, it will be an absolute game changer. And, it'll just help every area and aspect of business and life, more efficiency, more time back, affordable. I was saying to somebody the other day, there used to be a common phrase, it's only a cost of a cup of coffee a day. And I'm going, no, this isn't. This is like $1.60 US a day. A coffee these days are about $7 or $8. So it's about a quarter of a cup of coffee a day, and it will create your content for you. It will literally make your life a lot better. Just on, you touched on the ways of participation, ownership, and how you can get involved. But in regards to timing, I sort of feel like on a macro scheme of things, banking's moving into the tokenization and so on. There's, a lot of lot of talk out there, recent regulation with like the Clarity Act and all that sort of coming into place now. As far as our project goes, we've now got a community. We're well and truly on the way to the million users on the platform, and that can really be a life-changing opportunity for people. Like you mentioned, when we first did this conversation, it was about let's build our projects. But you want to give people a sneak peek in timing, because sometimes that can be everything for everybody.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we are approaching an era where the societal norms are starting to be challenged a little bit, where people are starting to go, man, maybe I don't have to let Zuckerberg listen to me 24/7, 365 and make, billions and billions of dollars and chat GPT and all of that. And so I think as that's starting to happen, as the regulatory environment is starting to clean up, as big institutional money, BlackRock, Fidelity, Chase are coming in to the space, the timing is certainly lining up for us. I think one of the best things about what we're doing is we're not really shifting societal norms. Everyone's already using video conferencing. A ton of people, 300 million users a day on Zoom. There's billion plus people using AI, well over, there's multiple billions using AI now. It's the fastest growing technology in history. G hit 1 million users in 5 days, 100 million users in 60 days. Like, that's unheard of. Like, the internet didn't grow near that fast. Instagram didn't grow. Snapchat, Facebook, none of them were even close to growing that fast. Not even close. And so our timing, I believe, is really on point. And the opportunity in blockchain, when you're early and you're driving revenue and creating buy-side pressure, that's not a theory. Buy-side pressure is proven to increase the value of a token. You look at Ethereum, which I live, just dark out, but there's a golf course kind of down here, and across, my yard, I've got the golf course, and then I got the ocean. But right on the ocean, there's 11 lots that the neighborhood's called La Cala here in Dorado Beach at the Ritz-Carlton Reserve. And lot 3 is a gentleman named James Slazis. I played pickleball at his house the other day, but he's one of the founders of Dharma Capital, him and his partner, Andrew. And James, when Vitalik was starting Ethereum and he was looking to raise money, Dharma Capital is where he went. That was one of the first places. And James and Andrew said, yeah, sure, we'll fund you. And so that was the first big funding that went into Ethereum. And so they James probably holds one of the largest Ethereum wallets on planet Earth. I know that house started out, like, the starting price for that floor plan was $42 million. So it's not an inexpensive house. And he's building a guest house in there as well. And so, I'm sure he's in the $50+ million range for total cost on his build out. And the reason that happened for him, really one of the main reasons, was Ethereum. And if you've ever used Ethereum to transact, if you want to, send me USDT on the ERC20 network, on the Ethereum network, one token you better have above and beyond the USDC that you want to send me is Ethereum. It's like a toll road that only accepts Ethereum to pay the toll. And so every transaction that you're sending, no matter what cryptocurrency you're sending on their network, you have to buy some Ethereum to pay the toll. And that buy side pressure has created a company right now. Ethereum has a $230 to $240 billion market cap. During a bull run, their peak market cap's 530 million or billion, 530 billion, a little over half a trillion, which is impressive. That's buy side pressure. Solana, if you want to launch a meme coin, you just got to buy one Solana and you can launch your coin. And that's a $43 billion market cap with a peak cap over 100 billion, 120 billion, somewhere around there. And so, again, there's nothing right or wrong about those projects, but I just feel like, Solana is an on-ramp for meme coins. They have launched amazing projects like Fart Coin and Poop Coin were launched on Solana. And it's like, yeah, call me crazy, but I believe that allowing someone to use AI at the highest levels and still own and control all of their data is more valuable to the marketplace than the on ramp to launch poop coin. And if I'm right about that, then we're not necessarily just looking at someone like Zoom and going, oh, we're going to compete with Zoom or ChatGPT. We're looking at lower hanging fruit than that, much easier targets than that. We're looking at Solana with a $43 billion market cap going, it's kind of a joke. Like it's a meme coin launch pad. And we're bringing real value, real fundamental value onto the blockchain. I don't know how we don't start to disrupt some of the biggest cryptocurrencies in the world. And maybe, if we move into the number 7 slot, maybe the meme coin launchpad stays in the number 8 slot. That's fine. But I think more and more real projects are coming. And the meme coins and the foundational on ramps for meme coins, those are going to be like penny stocks. And the blue chippers are going to start to take over. And I do think eventually maybe Bitcoin won't be the biggest cryptocurrency in the world. It's going to be projects that actually have fundamental value, not just speculative or subjective value.
Yeah, and just on that point, you mentioned too, like there's thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies out there. Most of them are not even generating $1 in revenue.
Yeah.
If we, hit the 1 million user mark and it's $50 million a month minimum in revenue, where would that put the Rally blockchain in I guess in the context? Is that a top 5 type of project at that sort of revenue, or?
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess it's tough to answer that because I can't control the market. I don't know how the market will respond to real fundamental value and real objective value. I can tell you, Bitcoin, they had, a year or so ago, they had a $722 million weekly inflow from the ETFs, institutional money, and they hit 120,000 a coin. The problem, you had a $1.22 billion weekly outflow several months ago, and you had a $62,000 retreat, it retreated back down. And so the market will do what the market will do. I look at a project like Solana and think, man, if we were doing 50 million a month in buy side pressure, how do we not disrupt those guys out of the market? At least put them in the 8 slot, and move above them. And it's a bear market. So, like I said, they're less than half of their peak market cap. And so I'm going, okay, well, if they got to, 100+ billion, like what's our upside? And again, I can't make any guarantees. I can't promise you this. Our last project was the #1 performing cryptocurrency in the world during the last bull run, a company called Gala, and Gala Games. They traded at 87 cents, 84 cents to 87 cents with $4 to $5 billion a day in trading volume. I mean, there's days where Nvidia stock and Apple don't combine for that kind of volume. So it was a liquid asset. We've done more revenue in beta in the first 7 days of this month than Gala Games did their first 3 years combined. So again, I don't know what the token will do, but I can tell you from a trajectory standpoint and a fundamental value standpoint, we're light years ahead of where our last project was that we traded. And we were the #1 performing cryptocurrency in the world in the last big bull run in 2021. And so I think if we continue to do what we're capable of, Solana's market cap would put us at $1 a coin. If we were at 43 billion now, we'd be a little over $1 a coin. And again, I can't tell you, that 50 million a month in revenue would put us there. But our coin would probably be quite a bit higher than it is right now. And so that creates opportunity, right? Anytime, I think for the first time in my life in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space, I found a community and I found projects where I could actually move the needle. And I probably talked about this 18 months ago, but I can't tweet about Dogecoin and make it go up. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not that successful or that important. I mean, he's a trillionaire, and I can't tweet about the Rally token and make it do anything either. But I knew I could add 1 million users onto our products and services. And right now we've got R-Link, we've got Operly. On our roadmap, we'll eventually do decentralized email, decentralized messenger. We have a like a TikTok shop, decentralized TikTok shop and whatnot platform as well. I think we'll have a decentralized post-quantum VPN technology that will be post-quantum secure, meaning once quantum computers come out, your computer will still be safe, which is a big deal. Oh, I don't know if people are into quantum computing or anything like that. With a regular laptop, if you gave me your public Bitcoin address, my laptop that I'm on right now could actually over time get to your private keys because it's an algorithm. Now, it would take longer than the universe has been around for my computer to get that problem solved. So we're all pretty safe. A quantum computer could solve that problem in 7 to 9 minutes. And so, the Bitcoin blockchain is already working on post-quant. They've got some solutions. We've got some partnerships with really some of the furthest ahead post-quant projects on the planet. The United States SEC wrote kind of a memo and put out a document about governments using blockchain technology and in particular post-quant blockchain secured technology. And they mentioned this vendor that we have partnerships with. They mentioned them like 10 times in that document. And so I think, we're at a point now where timing and positioning is perfect for what we're doing. And we are at the forefront of this entire industry, which is exciting.
Yeah, so lots of projects on the roadmap, but just you don't have to list names at all. But you can be the best kept secret in the world, but community to get to the 1 million people are really, really important. And the community that we have at Rally is made up of all walks of life: sports stars, celebrities, YouTube stars, major mega influencers. And if everyone sort of works together to be able to do that, the 1 million users can happen in reasonable speed. Do you want to sort of summarize that component?
Yeah, I think we've got, I always say if the goal is to hit a home run, I don't know what you call it in cricket, I guess, with the Aussies, but, if the goal is to hit one out of the park and you only have one batter with one swing, the odds are probably against you. But in the United States, the major leagues, they have the home run derby at the All-Star game where you got a pitcher that's just kind of throwing easy balls up there. And the best hitters in the world are basically having a competition on how many home runs they can hit in like 2 minutes or whatever it is. They got a time thing and they'll hit 15, 20 home runs. So it's like, I'm looking at our community, and I had a lady, I was at an event at it's called the Fountain Blue Hotel in Las Vegas. It's a really nice, newer hotel right by the Wynn and Encore, not too far from those hotels for people that know Las Vegas or whatnot. The Fountain Blue is probably, from a restaurant standpoint, they knocked it out of the park. They probably have, as far as if you're eating inside your hotel, numerous restaurants that are just amazing, and they did a really good job. And so when you look at, the ability to take as many swings as you want to hit that home run. I was at that Fountain Blue event. I was at my suite. I was talking about, R-Link, and then Jim Bunch was talking about Operly. And there were some big community members in there. Again, I won't get into too many names. One was the youngest ever CEO of a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. Company he started when he was 17 years old. And he invited a bunch of people there. He was there. And one of the girls he invited, I didn't know her. I don't get online a ton, or, like I say, I check my Instagram once every 3 months, whether I need to or not. And so somebody was telling me, yeah, she'll put out a YouTube video and she'll get 2 million views within 24 hours, I guess. And really pretty gal, and probably in her late 20s, maybe. And she came up to me after the meeting. There was, I don't know, we had like maybe 50 people in my suite that came up just to take a look at our project and what we were doing. We were there during the big Bitcoin convention in Vegas, maybe a month and a half ago or so. And she just said, man, I'm really excited, Tony. She was like, thanks for inviting me. And Dan asked me to come. I'm glad you guys invited us. And I said, well, thanks for coming. Appreciate you sharing your time. I said, I heard you're a pretty big influencer. And she goes, yeah, I get a lot of views. And she goes, I had somebody come up to me after this meeting and ask me, like, are you gonna jump in on this? And she said, I looked at him and I go, well, heck yeah, I'm going to jump in on this. She goes, I'm looking around this room and there's 6 people that if any one of them get behind this project, it's over. Like, this thing is going to skyrocket. I'm just going to be the 7th one. And so it was amazing to see, like, the firepower in that room, how many multimillionaires and billionaires are part of our community, and how many amazing opportunities have come our way. And if one of them comes through, it's like, all right, we're well on our way to that 1 million clients. But what if 40 of them come through, And then it's like, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, I think the sky's the limit. But, I can't look to other people and potential. I think that's my mentor said it's a fancy French word, which means you haven't done anything yet. And so I'm not, resting on my laurels. I'm not sitting there going, well, I'm excited. Hopefully they come through. I'm going out there and putting in the work and using the platform and signing up people. And I'm going to events and talking to people. I was just in Europe the other day. I'm headed back towards, just out of nowhere, trips come up here and there. I'm heading back towards the United States here, probably early July, very late June, to do an event. The plan is Scottsdale, but I potentially could end up in Portland in California as well for a few days. Then I'll be back here. Then I've got a group in Korea. And if I go to Korea, I got to come to Australia and New Zealand. So I can't go to Asia and not swing down and see what you guys down under are up to. And so I'll probably make a trip here in later July, early August. Maybe I'll start just going east. I'll go back to Kansas for a week or so, and then I'll start flying east. I'll go to Europe, I'll go to Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, California, and then back to Kansas. And so we have so many amazing people that are part of this community. And the more of us that come in, the more people like you, like me, and maybe some of you that are watching this podcast that are strong entrepreneurs, that have good networks, that have good marketing minds, the more of you that come in and become a part of our community, the more you're kind of stacking the deck in your own favor, that as you help the community grow, as you're earning all these tokens, well, because of you, those tokens become more and more valuable. And I think that's probably my favorite thing about this project is the amount of entrepreneurs and high-level entrepreneurs that it's attracting. And the more of us that come into this space, the better the odds are.
You mentioned the word, you cut your teeth in network marketing out of college, which was like you're building your community and that, but you really focus on your community. Whereas this is like reverse network marketing or anti-network marketing, where it's like, go Tony, bring in another 50,000 people. And, it's sort of, you're cheering on everyone in the community, not just the people in that you build in your own team. So I think that's really the beauty of building out this sort of blockchain project and, building the community that way.
Yeah, the cap table's so different, right? Like, if you own a company, you don't care kind of who brings the revenue and who brings the value. I think of the network marketing world where I came from. We'd help people make $500 a month, $1,000 a month, which was great. But imagine, a single mom making $100 worth of rally tokens, and she offloads it, and it's $100. It's $100. It's $100. And then someone in China gets started, brings in a bunch of users, has nothing to do with her, nowhere in her organization, nowhere on her team. In the network marketing world, that would do her no good. She wouldn't even know it happened. But if all of a sudden they drive that token up 10x in value, she's not making $100 a month anymore. She's making $1,000. And then let's say that person in China got somebody in Japan and Korea, and they got going, and then it ended up going up another 10x from there. So it's 100x from where she started. So she's not making $1,000 a month anymore. She's making $10,000 a month because the token's much more valuable. She's still making the same amount of tokens, but it just became more and more valuable. And it's like that I don't know anywhere else really that happens where, those people that are just making a few tokens, that token can get so much more valuable. Our last project in 12 months went up 410x. So it's not like I'm speaking in theory here. Like, we've watched it happen over 18 months. I think it was like 900 plus X that it went up. So, imagine a lady that was making $100 a month is making 90,000 a month. Like, this is life-changing type scenarios. And some of my friends that went through that, one of my buddies made $4.3 billion on the Gala project. And sitting down with him, he said, it's like, there were tens of thousands of people that all of a sudden overnight their lives changed. It was just like bang, like they hit the lottery, like but it was all of them hit the lottery, like just literally tens of thousands of people that were a part of the project, some younger than others in the project, but they all were holding tokens. And I think the average node owner was holding at that, like when that trigger happened, it was like 1.2 million in earnings on average over 3 years, with I think the average node price they were buying at was a couple $1,000s, a few grand, and having a 1.2 million worth of tokens 3 years later, it's surreal. It certainly is. But having kind of watched that from afar, and watching my friends do really well over there, and that's my own fault. And I'm sure you can reference my last meeting with you 18 months ago, and they can hear my pain from that story of missing out. But at the end of the day, I think, for us, the upside is so great. And the fact that we as entrepreneurs can kind of skew the odds into our favor, it's, for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, if blockchain's coming, and I truly believe it is, I want to position myself to benefit from it. And if I can bring in a bunch of other entrepreneurs and we can all benefit together, it's a win-win.
Well said. And we'll wrap it up there. It's been a phenomenal conversation. It's really an update. You can sort of feel the excitement in where we are, because it has been, I sort of bought into the software licenses not too far off, the Rally project launching. So sitting and watching and waiting, and now seeing Rally upgrades have been amazing. Operly come to the dance floor, and other projects that you're mentioning here down the pipeline. You can truly see, and as you just shared with the community, you can truly see that this project's sort of at that tipping point of really going to the next level. So thank you again for your time, Tony, and look forward to seeing you down here in Australia.
Looking forward to it, Craig. Thanks for having me, bud. Appreciate it.